Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Planet X News. It is December 3rd, 2019. Ladies and gentlemen, in my last live stream, we went over the footage of that huge lightning bolt or plasma discharge that was coming from the 11 o'clock position on the sun. I'm going to go ahead and jump over here to this video. I've put together some information. It took a couple of days after this event for me to capture this object coming downward past the sun again. I also have another treat for all of you today. Whether you want to believe it or not, maybe some of you can't handle the truth, but what I'm going to show you today is the truth. Earlier this morning, I was talking to Mark, and we were just checking out the SDO, Solar Dynamics Observatory, and he had noticed a flare at about the 7 o'clock position on the sun. As I looked at it further, boom, I'll show you that footage. I'll show you the photo captures, and I'll show you the video from it. And all of you can go to the SDO right now today. You could pull up the 171 and you could look at it for yourself. But first, let's get back to this plasma electrical discharge from the sun. I know it's been about a little more than a week since this occurred, and I was waiting for some of the data to update it. It's just been very, very slow. And I'm kind of glad that I waited. I'm going to go ahead and run this video because I've put it all together for you so we can watch it as I speak and go through it. So I'm going to go ahead and play this. We'll expand the screen. We'll get this going right now. And I slowed this down just a little bit, you know, so we can see it. For some of you that have not seen it, this electrical discharge, it was pretty amazing. I've never seen anything like it before. However, Mark was actually able to go back in time, and he was able to find some footage showing this same type of electrical discharge on the sun. And that resorts back to the information I gave you in my other live stream referring to Donald Scott, the scientist that wrote the book, The Electrical Sun or The Electric Sun, some of his seminars and what he speaks about. And it's very, very scientific. I hope that a lot of you did read that, because hopefully it will make all of you understand what's possibly happening here. What I'm theorizing here, and it's kind of all of the dots are connecting, is that when this object does get close to the sun in this 28-day orbit, it gets close enough to the sun where we have these reactions. Now, talk about timing. Twice a month, when this object gets close enough to the sun on its eccentric and elliptical orbit, we have a barrage, a rash of larger earthquakes. Now, I've gone back through all of 2019 earthquake data, and everything seems to be jiving right with what I'm saying. During these times, from about the 10th of the month through the 15th, 16th of the month, we see this interaction. We see the earthquakes. And then on about the 21st or 22nd through the 25th, sometimes a little bit later, it all depends, we see this same reaction. And this is this Planet X object coming up, passing the ecliptic, looping around the sun and coming back down and dropping down below the ecliptic. And last year, at the end of last year, I think it was, we were able to capture for the first time all three of these objects in one photo frame. So I've always believed that there is more than one of these objects. The majority of the time, they are out of the view of these spacecraft cameras. So we normally just don't see them. Now, on the 24th, 25th, we saw this electrical discharge. I am saying right now, during this live stream, that this object came down past the sun and it literally created this electrical discharge. Maybe some people don't want to believe me. Maybe you can't handle the truth. But what you're going to see in this video that's playing on the screen right now is going to show you clear evidence of what I'm saying. And then whenever we get to the second video, which was captured not more than an hour and a half ago, you're going to possibly see the secondary object going in the same eccentric and elliptical orbit. So we know that there's at least 3 of these objects. They're not photographed that often. I don't capture them that often because we just don't see them on these coronagraphs or the SDO, or maybe they're not allowing us to do so. So for all of you that didn't capture my last live stream, this huge electrical discharge occurred right at the end of November 24th, going into the 25th. This was captured on one of the coronagraphs. It was pretty amazing. The little dot that you see traveling in the background, in case everybody is asking about it, that would be Venus. Venus had absolutely nothing to do with this. That's like 58 million miles away, maybe even more than that. It had nothing to do with what occurred right here at this time. I truly believe now that these objects, or at least the main object, the larger object, which has to be 5 to 7 times the size of Jupiter, bigger, way bigger. This object also has to have a very, very, very strong magnetic field in order for it to invoke this type of reaction from the sun. And again, folks, you can believe me, you cannot believe me. That is your prerogative. I'm just the messenger. I'm just showing all of you that the research that I've been doing over all of these years, it is now coming to the point where it is undeniable. Undeniable. And we are seeing the effects here on Earth. That is also totally undeniable. I don't care what anybody else says. I've never really feared what is happening. I thought it was kind of amazing. I've always been a space buff. But now I am seeing clearly what it is doing to the Earth. And I can't project what is going to happen. Now, I want you to pay very close attention to the stereo ahead extreme ultraviolet light. This is the 171. This is normally yellow, the color yellow on the SDO spacecraft. But I was viewing this many, many days later after that electrical bolt shot out of the sun. And I had to wait almost a week for this data to come up because I wanted to see if I was able to detect that electrical discharge. All of this is in the same timeline from November 24th through the 25th. What I want you to pay very, very close attention to, follow my cursor. You see up here? Way up here. I want you to tune your eyes in to that area of this video. That way you don't miss it. I'll replay it. But what you're going to see at the exact same time that you saw that lightning discharge or that electrical discharge on the sun at the end of the 24th and the 25th, you're not going to see that electrical discharge right now. You're not going to see that on this view. But what you're going to see is you're going to see an object, a massive spherical object, pass right through the sun's corona, right at the exact same time that we saw that electrical discharge on the coronagraph. Now, the reason why you're not going to see that exchange on this view is because it is a different camera setup. It is not a coronagraph, and this is not tuned into catching that type of light. What you're looking at here is extreme ultraviolet light in 171 angstroms. So it's totally different, but you are going to see that object pass through, and you are going to see that object literally pulling plasma from the sun and literally trailing behind it for a short time. Now remember, these videos are not in real time. They are sped up. I slowed this down a little bit. These are all frames that are photographed by the spacecraft, the stereo spacecraft, and then later on it is put into a video format by NASA, and that's just how they do it. Now, I know they probably get the real good detailed high definition video. So I'm going to go ahead and start this video so we can watch it. But I want you to watch very carefully up here. You're going to see it on the 171 angstrom. You're also going to see it on the 304, which is the red burning sun. And when we get to that, I'm going to clue you in on a few things that are going to amaze you. And this is all connected together with that electrical discharge that came from the sun. So let's go ahead and start this. But watch right up in here, and you will see this object pass through. I'm just going to go ahead and let this play. I slowed it down. There it is, right there. I had to slow this down because, it's going to repeat itself. I had to slow it down because in the original video, it goes by so quick that you can't really see it. But whenever I was viewing this, I said to myself, holy hell, there it is. And I downloaded the imagery and I worked with it, slowed it down. Whenever you're slowing their videos down, it does get a tiny bit blurry, but I did record this in a higher definition, 1080p, so we could get a better look at it. So if you take a look at the dates below on the 24th going into the 25th, that is the exact same time we had the huge electrical discharge on the sun. Is it a coincidence? Hell no, it's not a coincidence. It's just going to show you that this object is interacting with our sun. There's no doubt about it. It's not a space rock. It's not a planet. This object has to be some type of dwarf star. It could be a brown dwarf, red dwarf. We really don't know. But it does have a very, very strong magnetic field. There is no doubt about it. My hypothesis is that we are feeling the magnetic field interaction with that object and the Earth twice a month. During that time frame, we are seeing a rash of volcanic eruptions and larger earthquakes, magnitude 6 and above. And that occurred on this day. I have a screenshot of earthquakes just in a straight line, zipping straight across from the South Pacific through India and into the Middle East, all at the same time, all on the same date. Coincidence? I don't think so. So you can see that object pass by at that, I would say, between the 10 and 11 o'clock position. Where did we see the electrical discharge? In the exact same place at the exact same time. Now this is closer. You'll be able to see it a little bit better. I have it in slow motion, and you'll see it pass by. Now, because I zoomed in, it does get a tad blurry. And I apologize for that, but blame it on NASA. You can see that object passing by, and you can literally see a small stream right there of the plasma that it pulled right off of the sun, right through the corona. When we get to the 304, which is the red image of the sun, you're going to see this plasma start to form, and you're going to see it literally reaching out as this object was approaching from the backside of the sun, making its downward motion, its downward orbit, going downward past the ecliptic. Here we are. Now, I'm going to freeze this for just 1 second. You see right here, right there, you could see the beginning stages of the sun's plasma starting to arc upward. I truly believe that this definitely had something to do with that huge electrical discharge. There's no doubt about it. Everything occurred in the same time frames. We're just looking at some different tools and some different views. But this is the view. This is the view from the coronagraph on stereo, where we captured the discharge of the electrical bolts. This is the view that we just saw of the object passing through the corona very rapidly. It took about, I'd estimate less than 24 hours for it to make that motion straight through the corona. So it shows you that the object is moving rapidly. Does it change speeds in that eccentric and elliptical orbit? There's a possibility. I don't know. I don't think it does. But watch this very carefully. And what you're going to be watching here is where my cursor is. You're going to watch this plasma filament start to form, start to raise up, tilt to the side, and literally follow that object as it passes by. Let's watch it. It was pretty amazing. I'm glad that I was able to capture this, because this proves a point. This proves, now watch, there it is. There it is. You can see it literally reaching out. Now watch closely. Watch closely. It's going to pass by. Bingo. Did you see the little burst at the end? Now, let me explain something to you. Because this view is in the 304 angstroms of extreme ultraviolet light, we're not going to see behind the sun in the blackness of space because of the angstroms of light. Now, in the 171, where we saw the model of the sun in blue, you would see that object because of the differences in the extreme ultraviolet light. And the reason why they have these different lenses on the cameras on the stereo spacecraft is so they can get different views, so they can see different things occurring on the sun at the same time in the different views of extreme ultraviolet light, plus the coronagraph, which is seen in that red on the stereo website. And then you have the base difference model, which is kind of in that fuzzy looking gray that looks like a bunch of interference. So you can see those two models, and you can also see the sun. But we're going to play this again. It's going to go through here, and you're going to see that plasma start to build, arc over, and then literally follow that object as it came by the sun. Again, is that a coincidence? I don't think so, because the timing is all the same. At the end of November 24th, going into the 25th. Let's watch it. This is a little bit closer. This is a beautiful view right here. And this literally shows you how that plasma is being arced and pulled from the sun, and it literally follows that object. Now watch this. This is a little blurry, but it's as close as we can get without distorting it really, really bad. And you see how the plasma on the sun, you see how it's reaching out slowly, and then watch, it will start to arc downward. When it's arcing downward, just like you're seeing there, it is responding to that object approaching and just literally orbiting right along the side of the sun. Now, I'm going to stop this right here. Not only did we capture the electrical discharge, that plasma electrical discharge on the sun on the 24th, not only do we have that evidence on that day, we have the coinciding evidence on the stereo EUVI 171 and 304. Now check this out. On the same date, during the same time, on the Cactus, it detected what it thought was a coronal mass ejection, but it wasn't. There was no coronal mass ejection on the 24th going into the 25th. However, the computer program thought that it was a coronal mass ejection. And not only did it think it was a coronal mass ejection, as this video goes very slowly because the Cactus uses very long timed frames. So whenever you're watching a coronal mass ejection on Cactus, the video clips are only 10 seconds. That's it. But they're very long frames, and it goes by very, very quickly. This piece of footage was a pain in the ass, but I broke through and I captured it. So now, right before your eyes, you're going to get to see this object damn near clear as a bell. I want you to watch very, very carefully right here in this area, and I froze the video for a few seconds so you can see it. Now, the Cactus coronagraph program is not crystal clear. It's not meant to be crystal clear. It is meant to identify coronal mass ejections. So that's why it looks like you see all of that interference and what looks like it would be debris. But it's all of the particles that this program is literally picking up. So, without further ado, let's watch this. And you're going to see that object appear right in front of your eyes. And I have still shots. I have still photographs to back it up. So you're going to see it right here. So I'm going to go ahead and run the video. There she be. Let me stop it right there. Now, I don't know if you're watching this on a big flat screen TV, Jumbotron, your computer at home, or a cell phone. If you're watching it on a cell phone, hey, you may be missing out. Whenever you go home, pull up YouTube on your computer or your big flat screen TV and check this bad boy out. There it is, right there in front of your eyes during the same date and time. Now, this was actually moving into the 25th. You can see it's a little bit further down from the 10, 11 o'clock position. It is almost directly aligned at the 6 o'clock position. Again, the same view from the other spacecraft, from the stereo. Same view. So I'm going to let this play. Undeniable, folks. This is just in some different coloring. You can see it right there. And compared to the size of Jupiter, I'd have to say once again that this object has to be 5 to 7 times the size of Jupiter. I don't think that it's any kind of planet. I really don't. I think that this object is, as Dr. Albers calls it, some type of a stellar core, a dead star. It could be a red dwarf. It could be a brown dwarf, in any classification. Or it could be some type of stellar object that science has not yet classified. But there is no doubt in my mind that the boys in blue at NASA and every major space agency on this planet knows exactly what that object is. I feel at this time the reason why they built the Parker space probe and sent it out to kiss the sun, as they say, I don't think that had anything to do with gaining more knowledge of our star. Because if it did, they would have done that 10 years ago. They had the technology to send a probe to the sun. You just let it go. You coordinate its orbit, little slingshot orbits like they do with all of these probes, and send the damn thing out. And it will transmit the information back to NASA or the JPL. But I think they know, or they want to know, and they need to know, and they need to gather more information. With today's technology, there is no doubt in my mind that they have the best camera systems on that spacecraft, and it's not meant to go kiss the sun. It is meant to track, detect, and photograph this object for more observational evidence for the boys in blue at NASA. And I believe that with the new Parker space probe out there, they are observing and trying to detect how strong this object's magnetic field is and its interactions with the sun. Have any of you seen or heard any of the data coming back from the Parker space probe? I have seen one little teeny tiny article with literally no information, no photographs, no nothing. So that tells me one thing, that the Parker space probe plan was to send that probe out to the sun to monitor and detect and watch this object. There's no doubt in my mind, folks. If NASA wanted to send a probe to the sun, they could have did it 10 years ago. They could have did it 15 years ago. Maybe they could have did it 20 years ago. Who knows? But we know there's never a straight answer with these guys. Let's continue to watch through this. You know, I've had this footage for I've had this completed for about 4 or 5 days. But I was actually waiting to I'm going to hold on 1 second. I was just waiting to see if I can snag some additional information. Now, we saw the object coming downward, just about crossing over the ecliptic. During that time frame, once again, 24th, 25th, going into the 25th. Now let's take a look at the interactions with our magnetosphere and our magnetopause. Watch very carefully. Yeah, it's right in front of your eyes. I mean, I didn't grab some, crayons and some magic markers and draw this stuff. It's all out there on the internet for you guys to research and see for yourself. I'm just showing you the research that I'm doing. And this time around, once again, it's undeniable. So watch the interaction with the bow shock of our magnetosphere on that same day, the 25th, as this object passes by its magnetic field, not the sun's magnetic field, its magnetic field disrupts and impacts the Earth's. It happens twice a month, in the beginning of the month and right towards the end of the month. I've been saying this now for the last 2 years. Are people listening to me that say that they're Planet X researchers? Apparently they are not. So, let me give a little shout out, okay? Let me give a little shout out to Dave Dobbs and Steve Olson and anybody else who thinks they know what they're talking about. Look at my research. Look at my photographic evidence. Stop playing mind games with your subscribers and start telling them the truth. Your hypotheses, your theories are wrong, and my evidence can back it up. Get your heads out of your rear ends and start telling your subscribers the damn truth. I don't care if you use my videos. I don't care if you use my footage. Show it to your people. Explain it to your people. They're counting on you. You owe it to them. You really do. Now, back to this BS. You need to watch this. This interaction is coming directly from that stellar object, not the sun. And again, the timeline is all in line. Watch. Let's keep on watching. You see the waves coming in. They're red on the right side of your screen. Let me point something out real quick. You see this area right here, this small plasma sheath right in front of the Earth. That's on the daytime side, facing the sun. If you didn't notice, let's go back just a few frames. You see here, it's not illuminated red. It's heating up. So I'm going to go ahead and play this, but you watch this area. This area is going to light up like your Christmas tree this Christmas. Or like I like to say, it's going to light up like a firecracker on the 4th of July. And the reason being is because all of those heavily charged particles and the magnetic field interference from this object is going to light that bow shock up right in front of your eyes. It didn't come from the sun. And right when this happened, the earth quakes right across the earth. Just watch. You can see the waves starting to come in from the right side of your screen. You can see the bow shock is starting to get, let's say, we'll use the word inflamed. It's heating up. It's taking hit after hit after hit. Was this coming from the solar wind? Absolutely not. The solar wind was so low at this point in time, it would not even affect the Earth's magnetic field. And this is just replaying, and this is showing you the magnetosphere. And you're watching those waves come in. And guess what? In today's captures, it happened again. But it was far more dramatic than what you're seeing right now. And we'll get to that in a bit. And you could see that it's reaching for something. This is supposed to be directly out in front of the Earth. You can see it's cocked upwards towards the North Pole. And that means the Earth's magnetic field is attracting to something else, another magnetic field. It's undeniable. This is a close-up. You could watch right here. Right in the middle. Right where my cursor is. Look at that. Folks, right at this precise time, earthquakes littered the Earth. Just scattered right across the Earth in an upward pattern from the South Pacific all the way across India into the Middle East. There's a still shot for you. That's pretty damn dramatic. That's showing you that our magnetic field was taking some serious hits. These are still shots, once again, showing you the timeline on the 25th. It did take a couple of hours for that to reach. There is your shot. Let me freeze that right there. There is your shot on that day, on the 25th, when all of that was happening. There you go. Just look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And these earthquakes moved from the South Pacific straight northward to the North Pole. A few hours after this occurred, we were moving into nighttime, 2,300 hours. The Aurora in the North Pole just exploded with color. It was just absolutely amazing. There's a website and a Facebook page that I follow, and it's actually a resort in Norway, in the very, very northern tier of Norway. You can go and you could rent a little small chalet. They have a slanted roof with a huge skylight. And, hundreds of people go there and they spend a few days. They probably pay big money and they view the aurora and they videotape it. And I watch their videos, and if you listen to the people, what they're saying, they've been to this place many times before. They've never seen the aurora like it is now. It's more spectacular, more color, and it fills the entire sky. And when you watch those videos of what they're filming, knock it off. When you watch those videos of what they're filming, it looks like it's being recorded in some kind of sci-fi studio. But it's real life. And people are starting to see the aurora further south, which is abnormal. Last year, the aurora was seen all the way down into areas like Colorado and the middle parts of the United States. The same thing is also occurring spontaneously in the southern aurora, but not as much as the north. Why? I'll tell you why. Where the Earth is situated in conjunction with the sun, we are just a little bit below the sun's equator, which means that's going to be hitting the top of the Earth, the northern hemisphere, the North Pole. So we got that out of the way. So as you can see, on all of those coordinating dates, the end of the 24th, going into the 25th, all of this occurred. All of this evidence came together on those precise dates and times. And I ask you, honestly, is it a coincidence? No, it's not. I mean, folks, I've invested almost half of my life trying to prove this. I've been made fun of. I've been threatened. People try to make my life completely miserable. They've called me every name in the book. I've had the FBI here at my freaking house twice. They told me and Dr. Albers, don't write any more books. Get off of YouTube. Stay off of social media. I get harassed inside and out by who the hell knows who these people are. I get death threats by email. I get nonsense every minute of every day. Social media hates my guts. Facebook censors me. YouTube censors me. Twitter censors me. Google censors my website. Why? Why are all of those entities doing that? What? Because I'm some kook from Pittsburgh that's showing you some graphic nonsense? Or am I really touching a nerve like I have been for years? And now the evidence is mounting. It is undeniable. Forget about all of those other YouTube channels that you follow that show you just fancy, weird pictures of the sky. Pay attention to the evidence. If you're following this evidence and this information and you still think Nibiru exists, you need to get your head examined. You need to go and you need to find all of your friends and your family members that are into this and that want to know the truth, and you need to direct them to this channel, and you need to sit them down and show them the real evidence, not this fake crap that these other hoaxsters put out there, because you're not going to see any hardcore, realistic information other than right here on Planet X News. This is the only channel where you're going to see it. That much is a fact. Now, let's move into what me and Mark found this morning. It's even more mind-blowing stuff. Let's get out of here. Let's pull up the next video. I put this together this morning whenever we captured it. I'm going to just stop this real quick. And we were looking at what was possibly a filament discharge right down here. So all of your attention is going to stay right down here. I'd say that's about the 7 to 8 o'clock position right there. Pay very close attention. I tried to slow it down as much as I possibly could so you can get a good view of it. Now, this, what we're about to take a look at, this is not that primary object that we just viewed on the 24th and the 25th. In my opening, I mentioned that there was a very high possibility that there is more than one of these objects. I photographed 3 of them last year, at the end of last year. It was a 1 in a million shot. Haven't seen anything like that again. It seems that this secondary object is trailing that primary object that we saw passing through on the 24th and the 25th. And that was up here at the 11 o'clock position. This object that you're going to see here pass through today is right here. Watch very carefully. I've pointed it out through the rest of this video with white arrows so you can keep your eye on it. If you don't see it now, play the video again and watch it again. I would say watch it on a computer, big screen, flat screen TV. It's not going to do you any justice on a cell phone. But here we go. Once again, you're going to see, you see it passed right through. And I had to slow this down quite a bit. There it is, right there. Now, I've got some incredible high definition still shots that I took, converted everything over to a higher definition, higher resolution so we can see it. Once again, you see the sun's corona or the plasma start to reach out. Why would it do that? Because the sun's magnetic field is reacting to an object that is passing very close by. So close that it is within the sun's corona. That's how close it is. Now I know there's all of the smart asses out there that will say, oh, well, if it was in the sun's corona, it would burn up. No, it would not. There's no evidence of that. Human beings, man, scientists, have never sent anything to the sun and put it through the sun's corona and said that it would burn up. They don't have any evidence of that. There's none. Zero. Scientists don't know the exact temperature of the sun. They don't know the exact temperature of the corona, even though they say the corona's hotter than the surface of the sun. So there is so much that science doesn't know, but they spew their garbage, and because they've got some degrees on the wall and they work for NASA, you are supposed to believe it. Well, don't. Because seeing is believing. And I work on observational evidence, not a fairy tale. Let's get back to watching this. And yeah, you could tell I'm a little fired up today. Watch down in that corner. You'll see the sun's corona react. It literally curls up as that object passes through. Once again, watch it very carefully. You will see it with your own eyes. Some people will say that that was a coronal prominence popping. No, sorry. That object is coming from the backside of the sun and passing downward this way. When a coronal prominence pops on the sun, it's going to go vertically. It's not going to come from the backside of the sun and slide downward. It's just not going to do it. If you don't believe me, go to Google, go to it, find coronal prominences, see if you could find some videos related to the subject matter. They are out there, and you will see what I'm showing you is not a coronal prominence. These are high definition photographs that I converted over, these still photographs in different coloration so we can see it. I'm going to stop it right there. I mean, come on, folks. If you know what a coronal prominence is, does that look like one? Hell no, it doesn't. That is an object that is probably the size of Jupiter, if not a little bit bigger. This is one of those secondary objects. And the reason why I'm so excited is because we don't get to see this one. We always get to see that larger one during those two periods in the month, in the beginning and at the end. This is in the very beginning, the third day of the month. And that means that this object is trailing that larger object, but in a little bit of a different orbit. So we saw the large object at the 11 o'clock position on the 24th, 25th of November. This object was captured today on December 3rd, trailing much farther below, but in the same trajectory. Yeah. So, all of these other people that are on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter that claim that they know what they're talking about, folks, listen to me. Do they ever show you evidence like this? Do they? No, they don't. This is why I got to call out some of these other people, and they have to stop the nonsense. We're not playing around with a game anymore. What is happening out there in our inner solar system around our sun is directly affecting the planet that you live on. Don't you get that? Step outside. Look at your weather. Watch the news. People are dying in these occurrences of climate chaos. The floods, the earthquakes, the volcanoes, the wild, stinking weather. And it's going to get worse. And like I said before, all of a sudden, in January of this year, in the beginning of the year, the whole climate change thing came out. Everybody talking about it. All the way down to politicians. And some little girl named Greta. We got 11 years, they said. Well, that coincides with the solar minimum that we're in with the sun. Then it was down to 9. Now it's down to 8. Politicians don't know squat about science. That much I could guarantee. But somebody is telling them something. And yes, we are dealing with climate change, but it's not man-made. I'll fight this and I'll dispute this with anybody. The climate change that we're going through right now, ladies and gentlemen, is directly attributed to what you're looking at on your screen. Period. Pollution levels around the world are at an all-time low, especially here in the United States and the European countries. Two of the biggest polluters are India and China. And they say that they've, kind of drawn back a little bit on their so-called pollution. But how could something turn so drastic in just a few months? No, it's been slowly happening since about 2015. I talked about it and I warned about it in 2016, 17, 18, and again in this year. I've been telling everybody what's going to be happening as the seasons change. What countries need to be on the lookout. I got laughed at when I said for everybody in Australia to be on your guard for your spring and your summer, because you're not even going to have a spring. You're going to go right in the summer. Your temperature records are going to break records, and your damn country is probably going to catch fire and burn up. People hammered me for 2 straight weeks after I released that video, before any of that even happened in Australia. Why? Because I do my homework. And I saw it coming just like I did last year, and I called it last year, and they all got on my ass about it, calling me a liar and every name in the book, and a fearmonger. But did it happen? You're damn right it happened. Did it happen again? Yes, it did. I warned everybody already here in the Northern Hemisphere that, hey, you know what? what we got a taste of last year with winter and those huge bomb cyclones, guess what? Guess what? Welcome aboard, because it's going to be happening again. And each year that goes by, every tick of that calendar, it is going to get worse and worse and worse. It's not a joke. This is not a play channel where we play with a make-believe object orbiting the sun. It's not a game. It's real life. You're living it. You're in it. And if you don't believe it, or you want to criticize it, then don't watch any more of these videos. Don't look at the evidence. Close your ears, close your eyes, shut off your mind, go about your merry business. But then you're going to be wondering, what's going on? You took yourself out of the loop, and now you're lost. Just a little bit of advice, folks. Let's continue with this and let's watch this, because these still photographs that I captured were incredible. And there it is again. Undeniable. You know, maybe some mainstream scientist on YouTube will call that a bubble. How do you call that a bubble when, look, when it clearly has a dark side and an illuminated side? The dark side facing out into deep space and the illuminated side facing directly towards the sun. How far is that away? Oh, that could probably be anywhere from the surface of the sun, maybe anywhere from 50 to 100,000 miles at its closest point. That's very, very hard to judge in these photographs because we don't really have any distance perception or depth perception. But what are you going to tell me? What are you going to tell me? That object that we're viewing right now on the screen is not there? You're going to tell me that that's a coronal prominence? You're going to tell me that I heard somebody call it a space bubble. The hell's a space bubble? Or a plasma ball? Okay. I've seen plasma balls. They're not perfectly spherical. And if you took a compass and set the point right in the middle, you could draw a perfect circle. So that's perfectly spherical. That we identify as some type of stellar object. Let's go ahead and continue with the rest of the still shots. And again, you know, I produced all of these in high definition so you guys can see them. And hey, look, folks, I'm gonna say something right now. Sooner or later, well, these clips I threw in here from the 25th of November, so you guys can see. Sooner or later, with all of this craziness that's happening with social media, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, you know, there's all the rumors going around that, you know, they're going to be shutting channels down and they're going to be doing this and they're going to be doing that. Look, there's always a high possibility of that. If they wipe me off of YouTube, I do have my backup, which is our private network. It's $5 a month, and you can join that private network. I actually share all of this information first, sometimes a few days before I do a live stream. I also share other things there on that private network on a daily basis. It's kind of like BitChute or what's that other website? Patreon. It's kind of like that, but a little bit better. They don't censor anything. Patreon's censoring people now. BitChute's doing the same thing. But the private network that I put together many, many months ago is working out beautifully. You can send me messages. I post my articles photographs, information, short videos. And if I want to do a longer video, I upload it to my Google Drive. I share the link in a post, and you click on the link just like you would on YouTube, and the video player comes up and you watch it. Now, there's no live chat, and you don't have all of the YouTube hubbub, but it's the same thing. Video player comes up and you can watch it. And I do have the ability to give you a download link where you could actually download this into your computer, and you can watch it later on. It does help me out a little bit. The $5 a month, it's no big deal. It does help out a little bit. But if YouTube crawls up my ass and they delete my channel, I mean, I've got over 21 million views. I've produced over 1,300 videos over the years. We have over 85,000 subscribers. Folks, there would be no way for me to recover that. And besides Facebook, you won't know where I'm at. Facebook censors me just as heavily as YouTube. They consider this to be controversial and conspiratorial. But I don't see how you can consider something like this to be controversial or conspiratorial. How? When the evidence is right there in front of your eyes for all of you to see and for our governments to cover up. Maybe if Mark Zuckerberg sat down at his fancy computer and watched this, and maybe Sue over there at YouTube sat down and watched this, then maybe they would really understand. Because I know their moderators are watching this. I know the Facebook moderators watch it. How could you deny the evidence when it's right in front of your eyes? And like I keep saying, each and every one of you, whether you want to believe it or not, you're living through all of this. All of us are. It doesn't matter. It's not a game. And for everybody out there on YouTube and social media who thinks it is a game, and you just want the notoriety, and you put out false information, you're not doing anybody a favor. You're doing the wrong thing. So once again, before I end this live stream, for all of you that still watch Steve Olson or Dave Dobbs, you give them a message for me. You tell both of them to come find me. You tell them to analyze my information and stop with the weird things that are going around in their minds. Because they have subscribers and people that follow their channels, and they are not being given the truth. The truth lies right here, today, on Planet X News, December 3rd, 2019. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm out of here. I hope all of you had a great Thanksgiving. And I'm going to keep up with my research, and I'm going to keep on disclosing what I find. If you guys want to join the private network, the link's in the description box. If you could afford the $5 a month and you want to help out, more power to you. If I disappear, hey, I don't know what to say. So find me now, secure your place for this info before it's too late. Anyways, folks, I gotta go. You be safe out there. Watch your weather. Stay tuned to Planet X News. Take care, folks. Take care.